I mean, my name is Loberstein. I'm 25. I've been doing the Amazon thing for 3 solid years. Was doing eBay stuff before that. I have a YouTube channel now where I talk about all that. Loberstein. So yeah, I don't have like an extremely structured talk, but I'm gonna walk through how I went from 6 figures in revenue to 7 figures in revenue, and then I'm going to talk about what I'm not an expert at, which is how I think I can go from 7 figures in revenue to 8 figures in revenue. And I definitely want to just like kind of run through the story on that, and then for sure do like hardcore Q&A to like go into like the details. So hopefully you guys will have a lot of questions, because like I'm a lot better at just answering questions than I am like just telling a story for 10 minutes. But so yeah, definitely want questions. So since a lot of you are new, I guess first, like, going from 0 to 6 figures in revenue, I mean, Amazon is an amazing opportunity. And even if you're starting from scratch right now, like going from 0 to 6 figures, like in a lot of businesses, that sounds like a big step, but on Amazon, I mean, that's like stupidly doable right now. Like, I mean, that's basically selling like so 100,000 in revenue is basically, that's 280 a day, right? In sales. So that's like selling a $28 product like 10 times in a day, which like if you know the scale of Amazon, like you buy everything on Amazon, I buy everything on Amazon. Like Amazon as a whole is growing so much. So like the idea of just grabbing like 10 little sales for like a relatively low price product, I mean, it's like, it's just so doable. So getting to 6 figures is literally a matter of picking products that are selling and, you know, getting something to have your offering be a little better in some way, getting it out there. Boom, maybe do it once or twice and you'll be well on your way to 6 figures. So I mean, that's pretty straightforward, which is awesome that it's that straightforward. What I did to get from 6 to 7 was, you know, as simple as it is, but it was repeating that process and building out brands. So rather than going from unique opportunity to unique opportunity, it was like, how can I take this first product and that is already successful to some extent, and building out a whole product line of related products that the same customers, the same audience would be interested in those products as well, because that's a tremendous way to scale. And like I said, if you have one product doing 280 a day, well, once you get 10 of those, boom, $1 million, right? So, and not that every product is gonna have that hit. Like I had probably about 30 by the time I got to $1 million run rate. So, but yeah, I mean, the big thing for me from scaling from that small point was really having that vision for a few of my core brands, building out a product line, you know, selling accessories to the main items, selling the items that your main item competes with. Like say this tripod and this camera you're selling it and it's super well. Well, what is this product lose sales to? Like maybe it's, well, those are the same ones, but maybe it's like a different type of tripod, right? And it's losing sales. So that's your second product. I mean, so easy. Like you shouldn't be thinking like, oh, tripod, let me sell like a beer dispenser. You should be thinking like, what is this losing sales to? And what else are they gonna buy it with? Like the microphone. I'm using that as an example, but like that's really what it's been, is building out, competing with yourself is one of the hugest ways that I've been able to expand product lines, is like literally what is another style of the same thing, a different size, different color, all of that. So yeah, so at the end of the year of 2015, when I was still in 6 figures, I had probably 3 or 4 products. And by the end of 2016, I had probably at least 30 products. And the whole thing of that was reinvesting, more product lines, starting to build social media presences around like the top, only 2 brands that really did that. And then, you know, getting into a little bit more tactics is like, you know, you can do something like you can export your customer data on Amazon, create Facebook audiences, target them with video ads, for example, bring them into your space as a brand, tell them when you launch new products, like you said, get off Amazon, right? I mean, that's the end goal. So that 6 to 7 figure push was like me beginning in that stuff. You know, like how do I build a brand? How do I bring my customers into be engaged, like participants in my brand, which I think your customer service thing is huge. Like I always used humor in mind. Like I sort of talk about like the mission behind my products and like what they're really getting by buying this product. And, you know, and then I use, for example, Instagram influencers. Like I've sent my product to like, probably like 100+ little like Instagram photographer type, and they'll just in pretty much every case it's just been for free in exchange for the product. And now I have, you know, hundreds and hundreds of literally professional pictures that I can use on Amazon. I can use in advertising. They'll post it. I can use it on my own social media. So it's really stuff like that that helped feed on it, as in conjunction with expanding the product line. That was the thing that took it from 6 to 7. What else took it from 6 to 7? I mean, yeah, so like I said, getting to 6, PPC, pay-per-click, that means the Amazon sponsored ads. You know, those simple tactics really will do it. But yeah, 6 to 7 was really about thinking about product line, thinking about brand experience, launch more products. You know, I have products that are still, I still haven't sat down to like seriously optimize the heck out of them, because it's just kind of the 80-20 of launching new products. I find that just to be, I mean, it's so obvious, but that's been the most impactful way to grow. So how I'll go to 7 to 8. I mean, obviously, so this is where I am no longer like the expert or whatever, but this is what I'm trying to do. Last year I did 1.22 million in sales for the whole year, and this year I'm already approaching 1.3, which, if you know how e-commerce works, like Black Friday to Christmas is like half the year. So I mean, I'm hoping to get to like 2. That's the goal. Obviously it's all up in the air, but just to give you an idea of where I'm at. So yeah, 2 million, and I want to get to like 10 plus. I really think that is going to require off Amazon. Like you said, it's going to be me doing more of the things that I've dabbled in, which is Facebook video ads, Instagram influencers, really blowing that out, really having email lists, remarketing, funnels. Like if you're familiar with ClickFunnels, like, you know, bringing people through like lead pages, and then like upselling, downselling, cross-selling your other products, bringing them into your ecosystem, remarketing new products to them. That's what I think it's going to take just online. As I, of course, continue to expand, I'm going to be doing what I did from 6 to 7 as well. But yeah, I'm really going to be going deep into Facebook ads more. I dabble with it. I haven't really gone hardcore into it. Facebook ads, Instagram ads, even YouTube ads, YouTube influencers. Might start talking about my own brand. I don't know. We'll see. But and the other thing is, I think, and that goes back to your point again, is like off Amazon, I really think is going to be the key, is like we're underestimating the land grab that we've had with Amazon. It's like you are a product brand. I mean, products are sold at everywhere. I mean, like Amazon is a tremendously huge platform, but if you can control your own process through ClickFunnels, through Shopify, stuff like that. But not only that, I mean, you can go into wholesale, you can go international. I'm not even selling international yet, so that's going to be a huge one. International. Wholesale to retailers. I have products that could be on every shelf in the world. Why not, right? I mean, it's like you have a product brand, especially if you're building social media around it, building a presence, those things are going to be super valuable to a retailer, because you come in there and there's just some product that was just developed, versus like this product already has a following of rabid fans for this product. Like your Amazon listing with 1,000-something reviews in a few years is going to be, literally, it's going to be like pre-research for your product that it's good, that you can show to a potential retail and be like, well, look, it's on the front page of Amazon, right? It's like, that's like being on the front of Walmart and selling well. You take it to Target or whatever, but like you can literally be like, look, this product is huge on Amazon. Look at the 5-star reviews, all of that. So taking it to retail, taking it international. One thing I really want to figure out, which wouldn't apply to every product, but it would apply to a lot of products, is I think customization is a huge thing. Like look at like Nikes, for example. You can pick the color, like you can pick like everything about it, right? So, or even just like adding another logo. Like I have products that I've gotten a lot of requests for, like corporate gift type of things, you know, and it's like I've always turned on these people that they're like, oh, I want 1,000 of your product, but I need this logo. But the logistics of me figuring that out when my product is manufactured in China is really hard, because first of all, if I was going to do the logo in China, then it'd have like a, you know, 3-month lead time or whatever to get it to them. So I need to like figure out like US housing for that. So yeah, I mean, I really think that those are the things that will take it from the 7-figure level to the 8-figure level. It's building out your own e-commerce funnel. Even if you're pointing those people back to Amazon, I should add, that's huge too. And I think that's going to be, when you dump these things on a new business, that's going to really allow you to explode. If you're doing these tactics from day one, I mean, you're going to like blow everyone else out of the water. So all of those external traffic things, running your own funnel, pointing it to Amazon, pointing it to Shopify, using ClickFunnels, all of that, blowing out Facebook ads, Instagram influencers, yeah, going into wholesale, going into international, just think of it as a real brand. You know, what if Amazon wasn't there? How would you sell 10 million bucks in a product? Like, I mean, brands will exist before and after Amazon, so that's always been a thing. So yeah, that's my plan. That's how I've got it to this point, and that's my plan to take it to the next level. So.
What's your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you maybe run through your first 2 weeks?
First 2 weeks?
Yeah, where you're like, I'm going to do this Amazon thing. Where'd you get this? Where's like the product?
Yeah, how'd you
like,
get started?
where'd you find the price? Like, oh shit, green exit signs are great, right?
Yeah.
Like, where, like, kind of, because I think that's where most of us, I think, that we're at. It's like, okay, onboarding, and then getting that confidence to kind of like stay persistent on a product. Like,
So kind of like product research.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like that.
Just like building that confidence. Because there's so much in there.
Yeah. So I mean, the one truth of it is that when I was picking my first private label product, this was over 3 years ago, and it was just like really a wide open thing back then. Like one of my biggest regrets is not just like figuring out how to take on millions of dollars in investment and literally launch every product on Amazon. Like, I mean, that would have been, it would have been a $100 million business. Like that would have been 9 figures, not 8 figures. So, so back then it was a lot more wide open. I still think there's a lot of opportunity now. You have to be a little bit smarter about it. But back then, it really was a matter of picking a product that I thought was, I don't want to say the word trend because don't look at super trends, but this product was like a long-term emerging trend, if that makes sense. Like it was something that had gained popularity over the last few years, and I saw it continuing to gain popularity. There were like, for such a popular product at the time, there was like 3 sellers on Amazon. This was, no. I'm talking longer. I would never look at anything that's like super, that's just gets blown out immediately. But like think.
Preference, or did you use like a software, or
Like
how did you find?
this was, so if you guys don't know like what Jungle Scout is, it's like one of the most popular apps for product research. I do recommend it. It is good, as long as you realize it's just a tool. It's not like an end-all be-all. But back then, Jungle Scout didn't exist. So this seems to blow a lot of people's minds right now, is that like product research existed before Jungle Scout, So I chose all those, that first whole batch of products. All of my current still sellers really were chose before Jungle Scout. But that's not to say Jungle Scout is bad. Jungle Scout is really good because Jungle Scout can do what I was doing manually. So, having an understanding of like BSR, best seller rank, that's how you can literally reverse engineer what a listing is selling in terms of volume. So you can do that for free too. There's junglescout.com/estimator, and that you can literally plug the BSR into there, see the estimated sales. You can do everything that the Jungle Scout extension would do manually if you're, saving. It'll take you more time, but it'll save you money. So. But yeah, I mean, just to go into product research, I guess, for a sec, because that is really like the big thing. I mean, it's the whole thing. My main criteria are, number one, it's got to already be selling. Like that's the most proven thing. If you want to like invent something, or I've had products that have failed because they weren't proven, it's all or nothing. It's like, look, either you're going to have a massive opportunity and you're going to be in control of the entire thing, or you're going to find that there's no market. So like, I find that it's more risk, more reward. So that's just up to your risk tolerance. So, but for me in general, and I think for most people, it's going to be what's already selling, right? Like in that you use BSR, you can use like the 999 trick, which is where you add like 999 to your cart, see how many are actually in stock, which also isn't going to be perfectly accurate because Amazon's always moving inventory around. But yeah, so what's already selling? Can I do something to stand out? Can I alter the product in a minor way? It can be really simple. Maybe everyone looks at images. Maybe everyone has horrible copywriting. Maybe they all just have like super like generic brand names. Or, maybe there's a little accessory you can add to it. Maybe just, it can be anything, but any point where I can just have some sort of ad, And I prefer it not to be on lowering the price because it's hard to just keep lowering the price. So in general, I'm usually shooting to, what can I do to like increase the value a little bit? What are my other points? Another point for me is this something that I can see what the second, third, fourth, fifth product would be around? Because I don't want, like, look, if I have a list of 10 potential ideas and they're all equal, I'm going to look at which one has the longest term potential as its overall market, like when I have a whole product line around this thing. So, and then obviously like profit margin would be factored into product research. If the numbers don't work, then it just doesn't work, even if it sells a whole bunch. And yeah. Oh, the other point is competition. So I want to see some competition such that I can see that it's already been proven out for me, right? They're your research. You're like, this guy's selling, he's doing exactly what I sort of had in mind. But at the same time, you don't want it to be too competitive. So you need to have this balance of overall market size and competition, and that can vary a ton. It can be a small market with a little competition that might just be an easy win, or and I'm in some products like that where there's 1, 2, 3 competitors, but it's an easy entrance, right? And then I'm in others where it's like a big market with, yeah, there's some players with thousands of reviews, but it's a big market, so there's more risk but more to play with. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like my product research lineup. Yeah.
I was going to say I haven't looked into this, so don't take my word for it. But in one of my Facebook Amazon groups, they talked about Walmart looking to make a similar platform to Amazon. Yeah. So you might want to look into that too in terms of your expansion.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be an easy one for sure. Like when I'm saying expanding, like yeah, you know, taking it from just Amazon to Walmart, or like Jet was getting big. I don't know if they're still doing well, but like yeah, I haven't jumped on Walmart yet, but I mean I know they're definitely gunning for it. But from what I've heard, like everyone's doing like okay there. Like I haven't heard of anyone like absolutely crushing it there. But like yeah, I'm definitely, it's on my radar for sure. But yeah.
Like, do you have any strategies for getting reviews, or like do you reach out to customers? Do you send them a specific set of emails?
So this is something that sort of changed as the rules have changed. And it ties in with like Sam's customer service stuff too. Like I used to send like really creative emails, like maybe a little too creative. But like, so now I've super toned it down. I do an email follow-up, but you have to be really careful about what you say. Like, first of all, if you don't like know me and my business, like I do everything as like white hat as possible, which that means like you're doing everything to like you're super paranoid about getting banned. Like a lot of people do a lot of shady stuff to like sort of like edge where the rules are. I'm playing like as clean as possible because I have this built up and I don't want Amazon to think I've done anything wrong. So my email sequences now, yeah, I follow up and ask for a review, but I'm like ridiculously careful with the wording. So that's resulted in it being not all that creative. So it's like, you know, the first one is just like you just thank them, you maybe give them some more info about the product, you don't ask for a review. Then now I used to do 3 emails, now I think I do 2 for most of the products. Second one is literally like, hey, what do you think? Leave a review. Because you can't even say, if you liked it, leave a review. Because see, that's, right? Like you could argue that you're saying, well, if you liked it, leave a review, but if you didn't like it, respond to this email, right? It's like, yeah, you'll probably be okay, but like it's manipulative in a very subtle way. So like now my emails are really just like, hey, you can leave a review here. So, but yeah, I mean, that's where my reviews come from. I don't do any of the launch services, giveaways, any of that. I just do anything I can do to advertise to get real sales. And real sales can still be at a discount. So I'm not saying no discounts. I'm just saying that I don't want to be using that same pool of buyers from like the review stuff because Amazon knows who those people are. So anything you can do to get sales from regular people and then follow up with them for a review, that's how I get reviews. I have products with, across my whole portfolio, I have thousands of reviews from email follow-ups. So.
What the percentage of people who leave reviews?
That's a good question, and that's something that I'm not super analytical about. I don't even know my own percentage, but I don't dig into that. I should look it up, but I honestly don't know. I just think. Yeah.
How did your first couple products do? Did you sort of do well from the beginning and you were profitable, or it was like a struggle and you had to persist?
So again, this ties back to the fact that it was 3 years ago. So I did have success pretty much immediately. Back then it was definitely easier to just jump in like that. And I still think there's a lot of room now, but you have to be a little more strategic, a little smarter now, for sure. But yeah, so I mean, I had success with it like right away. But back then I was like, I didn't have the capital, I didn't have the resources. So the biggest struggle for me was like, I'd order 100 units at first, and then I'd go out of stock. And then I'd be worried to order too much because I'd be thinking like, well, if I get back into stock, is it going to get momentum again? So then I would not really go all in on that reorder because I'd be worried, what if I get stuck now with 200 units? So then I'd order 150, then I'd go out of stock again. And it's just it was just this loop of cash flow, and it still is to that extent because it's still always a balance of how much cash do you want to tie up in inventory versus how sure are you that this is actually going to sell, right? So, I mean, that's still I still deal with that. I mean, you should see the amount of inventory I have for Q4. If Q4 doesn't go well, I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory. So that's a problem if it doesn't sell, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that was honestly, and still is, it's just that cash flow game because something that a lot of people probably don't realize about an inventory business is it's not just a passive income cash out type of business. Is the more you do well, the more it ties up cash in a lot of ways. Like I have more inventory now than I did a long time ago. And I know people that are doing bigger numbers than me that have, huge loans. I have a huge loan from Amazon Lending too to fund inventory. So, because like the bigger you get, the more cash it requires. So even though it was going really well, my biggest hurdle was cash flow, reinvesting, all of that. And I was trying to expand. I wasn't just like, ooh, like, $5,000 a month, this is awesome, which it is awesome, but that'll go away. If you're happy with it, it's gonna go down. Like you have to be growing for it to be really growing, So that was and still is probably the biggest hurdle. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Have you ever had a listing removed? And if so, what did you do with the inventory?
So not permanently. I did have a listing. I've had listings go down a bunch of times. There's different levels of like listings going down. Like there's like the serious ones, and then there's like the ones where you can just like literally click relist like right away. So I've had those happen like all the time. At first I would panic at those ones. Now I'm just like, it's fine. Like it's not that big of a deal. But like one time that I had, it was my top seller, and it went down because like a complaint of used items sold as new, which could have been Amazon putting a return back into inventory, and then a customer being like, oh, this is like used, like, or whatever. Because Amazon, for some reason, that's considered like a safety concern in certain categories to Amazon. Like that's the way they categorize used sold as new. I don't know. But so that went down. I used like I didn't want to mess with it myself, like sending the appeals and all of that. So like there's a few like services, like people that like specialize in that stuff. So I like paid one of them. It was like $500, but they got it back, and it's been fine since. So it was money well spent. But yeah, I haven't had like that was the only serious one like that. The other ones have been like, oh, we're investigating, like if there's an issue, then they'll pop back up in a few days, or like, oh, your return rate was too high, so we shut down your listing. But you can just you can basically relist it yourself. And then if there's no continuing problems, like you're good. So that's really the extent of issues that I've had with that. But again, I'm not doing anything shady. Like if you're like buying reviews or something, like I really don't have any suggestions, Yeah.
Can you go over like your process, your launch, and how you get stuff ranked? Because I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. So I think that again goes back to the things are a lot different now than they were. Back then it was, giveaways, blasts, everything you can to have this like massive extravaganza on day one of your product being released. And, and this is something that's evolving too. So I'm going to tie it back into what I was saying about like Facebook ads, ClickFunnels, external traffic, because I think those things are going to help you immensely moving forward. But for the last year or so, I think I've just been a lot more patient about it because I have already had this portfolio. And, I'll just honestly, I start pay per click, PPC, day one. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I need a few reviews before I can start PPC. It's like, no, you need to just advertise, do whatever you can to get those sales, because those first sales are going to be your first reviews. So, it's kind of been more of like a soft launch approach rather than this like massive like,
Is there a dollar amount that you start out with for PPC?
I mean, it varies. Again, so the goal should be to have profitable PPC, in which case you want to spend as much as possible. Like that's the end goal. Like if you can put in $1, you get $2 back, then you shouldn't be thinking about budget. You should be thinking about what's your credit card limit, right? But yeah, typically that's not going to happen right away. But like, so I'll say I've been telling people to start like $30 a day to test, but it's a test. You got to see what happens. Look, if your profit is, say your product sells and it's $10 profit per each, and you sell 3 your first day with no reviews and $30 in PPC. Spend more. I mean, you need to get it greased, right? You need to get it rolling. So like if you can break even or even close to break even, you're doing tremendously well. So I would say start there. If you're bleeding money, then you're gonna have to adjust. You don't want to be like, you don't want to have to spend $500 and have 0 sales and then still just keep rolling PPC. That might be a problem. Now you're gonna have to look at your listing, like why is your conversion so bad? Because clearly you're driving traffic, but you're not getting sales. So yeah, as far as like ranking though, I have no rank trick whatsoever. Like I'm not one of those like the one secret to ranking your product on first page in 3 minutes guaranteed type of, that's just not my outlook on it. It's just, again, it comes down to what can I do to drive sales? Those sales are going to help you boost the rank, and it's going to, and it grows over time. Like your listing is worth more over time. It's kind of like what I was saying about even bringing it to retail. Like literally your listing will grow over years. So I guess it's just I've definitely gone for a little more of like a soft launch approach, being a little more patient, letting it just get rolling, I kind of get it launched, see what happens, evaluate it in like a few weeks. But I remember like the impatience I had like with my first product. It was like, every like 2 seconds I was like trying to do something for it. But like, yeah, I mean, I have had products that are successful now that were launched totally the soft way post the review change, which happened a year ago. So actually, this is a funny story. I had a product land the day of the review change. So if anyone doesn't know, like, you used to be able to give away products you were allowed to give away products in exchange for a review. Like, that was allowed by Amazon until like last September or October. It's like October 13th. Yeah, so that exact day, I had a new product land. And I was like freaking out because I was like, oh my God, like Amazon's over. How am I going to sell this product? And I basically just like, I had no other choice than the soft launch. So I just turned on PPC and like, I got a few sales, and a few weeks later I had a few reviews, and now that product has like over 150 reviews. And like, I didn't do anything special for that. So it just goes to show you, like, there's still a lot of opportunity just for like, which I don't want to advocate like doing nothing, but like there is still a lot of opportunity. Yeah, there still is a lot of opportunity to just kind of like, play the Amazon game. Like, there's just opportunity there. And the more you sort of stack on these new tactics, you're just going to be so far ahead of the game because nobody's doing those things.
So how long does it take usually with this strategy to rank on the first page or start getting organic sales?
I mean, you might get organic sales right away. As long as traffic is getting to your listing, some people are going to buy it. One thing, I think a lot of it comes down to your product offering, right? And like, if you would buy your own product, that's a good sign. So like, you want to have a genuinely good offering. As far as the first page part, I just see the Amazon ranking as a little different than most people, I guess, because like there are so many keywords, and like, so I don't monitor keywords as much as you would think at my level. And that's just, maybe that's a flaw, but that's just what I do. So I'm not extremely into that. I have products that I know are selling 50 plus units a day that are not page one for major keywords, and that's just because it has gone out in this Amazon web, right? It's in the frequently bought together. It's in the customers who also viewed. It's got, it's just being seen. So I think like that has a lot more value than people are quantifying. And I kind of favor that over like, oh, you type this in and you get this, and like that's what you need. Because I always find that the search results are like just plain wonky and sometimes don't make sense. Like, have you ever seen, when you type in a major keyword and there's like a product that's like the 8th one and it's ranked like 150,000, and you're like, well, wait a second, if that's really on the first page, like, shouldn't they be getting a bunch of sales? I don't know. So like, I'm not saying to like throw that away, but I'm just not super fanatical about it. I'm more looking at like what is actually selling, and if it's selling, then I'm not even gonna. I barely look at my keywords if it's working. So, and that comes down to having a good offering, getting it selling with advertising, all of that. But yeah, I'm not like really thinking about like, well, I need to rank it at this spot on this page by this date. But as far as how long it takes, that part of the question. I mean, it varies, I've had products that never took off. That's just the name of the game. That's why I sort of talk about building a portfolio, so I'm not like attached emotionally to a single product. Because like my first products that were doing super well, those ones got super saturated when Amazon became like the hot thing, and now those products do like barely not that great. So, but I was continuously looking for new opportunities, reinvesting the profits from the first one into doing more product development, like I was saying, building a real brand and doing all of that. So now that's just kind of the way mine is. Yeah.
For those who just starting out, it is important to get on the first page, like as soon as possible, to start getting money.
Sure.
So that's why people use this shady tactics.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's value in it. It varies niche by niche though, because look, if you're going into a really big, saturated niche, like, good luck getting on the first page right away. But if you're dealing with something that's like, a couple competitors, then yeah, it'll probably just happen if you're doing those right things anyways. But like I said, I do everything as white hat as possible. So like, I'm not doing any like specific keyword pushing, if that makes sense. Like, you can do like, if like the super URLs, that was a big thing a couple years ago, where you would like have a URL that had a keyword embedded in the URL, so it sort of like tricked the algorithm into thinking that person searched for that keyword and then bought your product, therefore it must be relevant to that keyword. So like, yeah, I mean, people still try stuff like that, but it's blatantly in the rules that it's not allowed. So, as like boring as it is, like my trick is that there is no trick in the ranking thing anymore, and it's just really about pushing PPC. PPC will help you rank. You're getting sales through those keywords, that's what it's doing. So being willing to go into the red, lose money a little bit up front, I still think is great. And and it'll happen if it's the right fit for that market. Those things will just happen as it builds and becomes more established. You know?
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Question. So you've been doing this for a while. So what did you start like with? Like investing like how much like of your time and money, and like what was the quantity of your first couple products for I'm not even starting, so
Yeah, so I actually was doing this while I was in school. So it was definitely like a part-time thing. Like I was going to UCLA and like, well, I'd be like sitting in class like on Amazon, like literally, like I wish I had like recorded that. It'd be the greatest thing ever to look at now. But like I wasn't paying any attention. I was just like on Amazon, like typing in stuff. So like, yeah, I mean, it definitely doesn't have to be like a full-time thing. It wasn't for me. I went full-time into it when I graduated, which was probably like a year to a year and a half ago, or well, no, it was like a year and a half into like really going hard at the private label Amazon thing. As far as like the investment, you know, like, again, back then it was a little bit wider open. So my very first order was like around $800. I wired $800 to India, and I thought like, if I never see this money again, like I'm like done. And now I have a video where I wire 101,000 to China, and there's like, if you don't like with a wire, there's like no like way of getting that back. Like so it's basically just like, so but like my sort of caveat to that is, you know, it is a little harder now. You have to be able to give it a real run for it. So like, you know, I launch products now with like, I mean, not to be like discouraging, but a lot of times I'll give like, you know, 8,000 to 10,000 on a new product. But I think a good place to be is 3,000 to 6,000. I think 1,000 is doable, but it's just going to be really hard because there's a lot of people fighting for that easy entrance product. So yeah, you know, I think at least a few grand or so puts you in a much better position. And I think honestly, the more, the better, because there are certain products that it just won't work. Like how you were saying about the MOQ being like 3,000 on that product, because he's like developing a product like more from scratch. Like nobody just starting out, like that eliminates a lot of people. Like for example, I have a product that I took the profits from the original one to then like actually develop engineered changes in the actual product. And that costed like tens of thousands of dollars to develop that product. So it's like, nobody's gonna really do that out the gate. So, but like those things sort of take it to the next level. So the more you can do, the less people you'll be competing with in a way. So, but I think, yeah, like 4, 5, 6 grand honestly puts you in an amazing situation, and like, and still like the reality of like the ability to create a 6-7 figure business off of such a relatively small investment is still like a really amazing like thing. I mean, that has not existed for like most of history. So yeah.
What's your sweet spot for quantity? So like have you seen has the lowest, you know, sits in your closet at the end of the day?
So like, are you saying like how many units you order to test it out?
Yeah.
I would say like, you know, again, this could vary. If you're getting into a higher price point product, it's going to have to be less, obviously, because you can't buy like 1,000 of something that costs you $100 to make. That's going to be a lot different. But you know, most people are looking in the $15 to $40 sale price range, which means the production cost is probably like 1 or 2 to 8 or 10 or so, roughly. So, you know, I would say at least, honestly, I think like 500 plus is a good place to be. A lot of people are like, oh, well, can't I just test with 50 or 100 of a product? But I find it kind of goes back to like how long to get traction. I find that that's too short to even test. Like, what if it would have caught on at your 501st sale? You know, like what if that was when it finally got the ball rolling? And like I said, the real estate of an Amazon listing sort of grows over time. So I think really like 500 minimum. And I think the real key thing is like, hopefully you have some sort of like cash to fall back on if it is going well, which obviously at that point, then it's a safer investment. Because obviously, like, so for example, it's like, if you could risk $4,000, but then know that if it's going well, then I have another 5 I could put into it. That's honestly the best place to be. Because that was a problem that I had, like I said, is like, it was hard for me to like reinvest and keep it going. But if I had been like risking $3,000 with like 50K like safe, then it would have been awesome to just like dump that onto it once I knew it was like working. So yeah.
You brought up Amazon lending, which of course I'll look into, but just the cash flow, you bring up really good points that, so like what you were saying, I get the 3,000 units in, and then one of the things I had heard is that Amazon doesn't pay you like right away, that it might be a month or 2 until you actually see your profit. Is that true?
So it accumulates for 2 weeks and then you get paid out. if you're starting a brand new account, I'm actually not sure, because I don't remember, but maybe there's a certain holding period when your account is brand new. I don't remember, but that's possible that it's like the first month or something. Maybe, I'm not sure actually, because I registered a really long time ago. That could be the case. I haven't heard about that recently, so, but maybe you just have to get like your banking like authorized and all of that sort of stuff. But
Do you recommend Amazon Lending or just to get lines of credit?
so I would, but Amazon Lending is invite only. So yeah, so typically it's once you've been selling for, I haven't heard of anyone getting it if they haven't been selling for at least a year, and then they invite it to you. So for example, and then the first one they'll give you, and I'm sure it's like some sort of algorithm for like your sales have to be at a certain level. You know, nobody knows the exact sort of formula for it, but it's invite only. But it is like the best way to fund your Amazon business, because they have your data, they know what you're doing, so it's like, and the rates are really good, and they keep building you up. So it's like they'll offer you like $3,000, and you're like, well, that sucks. But like if you take it in a month, they'll be like, hey, you want to refinance for $40,000, and then you take it, and then in a month they're like, hey, you want to refinance for $100,000. So they keep offering you more and more. Like I think it caps out at like $500,000 or so. Like I know somebody with one that big. Mine's like 300. So and it's, yeah, I mean, so that's basically what I've used. But if you have access to things like lines of credit and you can do it, I mean, if it's at a good rate, why not?
For Amazon's actual like lines of credit and everything, and they do like hard inquiries, like you said you do every like few weeks?
I don't even know if they do hard inquiries. I mean, I think they just mostly base it off your Amazon account, which like shows your sales. They know how much cash is accumulating, so they know what your cash flow is, so they can just sort of figure out how much they feel is right to lend to you, I guess. I don't know if it actually, like there's not like an application process where it didn't ask me anything else, you know, it's pretty straightforward. What was the other part of your question? Or was that it? Okay, I couldn't remember if I like skipped something.
What stuff do you outsource?
Okay, I outsource all customer service at this point. Sorry to Sam. But oh, there you go. Yeah, no, but I taught my guy to like, you know, do it right, but that was something I had to take off my plate. Everything graphic, photo, I'll still occasionally take some photos myself just because I have a little experience with that a little bit, but my main virtual assistant, his background is in photo, graphic, all of that, so he does everything. Basically anything in my business that's related to photographic video, now video, is all him. Plus all of the messages that come into Amazon, watching reviews with Review Match, if you fix it. Like
Copyright, or you write your own copy?
that I do, yeah.
You do it yourself?
I do that.
Do you do like keyword research to do that?
I mean, I guess not in like a super formal way. I feel like it's usually relatively clear like what keywords are going to be relevant. You know, I'll dig around a bit, but I haven't dove into like merchant words, which like I don't know if you've seen that. I've heard of it. I probably should play with it, but like that way you can pull out more keywords. But yeah, I mean, in most cases it's been pretty clear what I need to say, you know. So, but yeah, copywriting I'd like read a book about it, and I mean honestly that applies to anything. Like if you read one book about something, you'll probably be better than like 99% of people at it. So. Yeah.
Could you give some real quick context when you launch a product, just for people that aren't there yet? When you launch a product, you could do like automatic or manual advertising through Amazon, which is what CPC is. So to that point, do you do automatic targeted ads, or do you do your own manual campaigns?
Both. So I would definitely recommend both. I always still turn on an automatic one just because it's using Amazon's brain, right? Like it's relatively smart, I find. So like and it'll get a little better as it sort of finds what's working and what's not. So I still for sure run auto. That said, I have a lot of manual, obviously. But as far as like that day one testing, what I might do is like for sure turn on auto, 100%. But then if you have keywords that you know are your obvious keywords, you can run manual campaigns to those obvious keywords. You might as well try it and see how that goes too. But yeah, then as you scale up, you know, it's really just a matter of scaling up what's working and trimming off what's not working and testing new ones.
If you have like 10 keywords that are getting you sales,
yeah.
2 that get you 90% of your sales, do you cut the rest and go all in on those, or do you keep them all?
I would keep anything that's not bleeding money, seriously. Like as long as it's like, even if it looks like it's at a slight loss, as long as it's not at a huge loss, I'd keep it going. I would cut everything that's a huge loss. And the reason I do that is because, like I said, proliferating that sort of Amazon web, right? Like getting into the frequently bought together, getting into the customers who also viewed. I put a lot of value on that I think is like intangible. Also, the ads only, well, first of all, there's a delay, which if you don't know that, like the ads, they don't attribute sales for like a few days. So you have to be a little careful as far as like, oh, is this working or not? You can't just cut it immediately because it might take a few days for that sale to actually show up. But, you know, I think that there are sales that are attributed to PPC, but they don't actually show up on PPC. And like, this is just kind of my own like thinking, but I think they said it only attributes for like 3 or 5 days. I could be wrong, but it's not like forever, for example. And it's like, how many times when you guys are thinking about buying something, do you click on it and like leave a tab open for like a week, or like add it to your cart and buy it like 2 weeks later? I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of like this like intangible stuff that's going on. Or like maybe you see an ad on your phone, but then you like order it on your iPad that doesn't have the same cookies, or I don't know, like. So I think that there's sort of like stuff that doesn't get attributed to PPC. So I'm super happy if my PPC looks like it's at break even. Super happy. I'll scale that up all day. So.
Is there kind of a strategy then for the intangibles, like getting to how you can say like other people who bought this also bought this, or people reviewed this, or is that kind of just based on Amazon's algorithm?
Yeah, so that's just stuff that happens by getting sales, and that's why I'll go into the red up front, because the more you can do to just push through that system, the more that just happens naturally. There are things you can do sort of artificially once, and this ties into building a product line. When I build a product line, I'll try to do that myself. So I'll run cross promotions on a new product. Like if I have this product and then I have an accessory to that product, I'll do like buy this one, get that one free. And then boom, they're showing up in the frequently bought together. Boom, it has traffic. Boom, now it's going to show up on other competitors' ones that have a similar item to my main product that's an accessory to. So, you know, but that stuff, yeah, it's all kind of intangible and just happens, but it happens through pushing it out there. So, yeah.
So it had been asked earlier, and I don't know if you answered it. So when you're, say the sales life of a product is dying out, how do you get rid of the inventory so you're not just paying for it to sit in?
Yeah, so only twice have I had inventory that was like so bad that I actually cut it. I have products that are just like trickling along that I keep going. You know, I don't cut those. I just think like, yeah, they'll probably still pick up for Christmas or something like that. So I just keep those rolling. And those aren't my huge winners, but they might. Look, I mean, like this could be a whole nother like talk, but like the opportunity of just Christmas is ridiculously big. I mean, people are drastically underestimating that. I seriously think you could build a portfolio of like 20 products that do nothing all year, but each of them make a few grand in December, and boom, you have like a 6-figure business. I mean, it's like, I mean, hopefully this Christmas will be like the last ones, but like, if it's anything like the last ones, it just exceeds what you could ever imagine, basically. Like, every product flies at Christmas.
Do you have any random products that you source just for Q4?
A little bit. I mean, I do. I have ones that, like I said, they don't really do much all year. And I do have ones that I've sourced with the intention of them being big Q4 sellers. I planned on doing more of that this year, but my main product lines ended up just like, I needed to invest so much into inventory for those that I didn't do as much of that this year as I had planned. But yeah, depending on how this year goes, I might launch 100 products for Christmas, just for Christmas. I mean, just like, literally you could do like ornaments. I mean, like, it could be Christmas related. I mean, it's a huge market. So yeah, I mean, but to finish your question about inventory that's sitting, in those two cases, it was just, those were my 2 products that just didn't work. I just had them disposed. I just moved on. I could have, yeah, I mean, I had sold through some of them and it was just totally dead. It was about to hit the long-term storage fees, which is something Amazon does twice a year. It's on like February 15th and whatever, 6 months after February, August 15th. And so it only hits on those dates, and it's like, you can look it all up, but it's like only inventory that is older than 6 months at a certain cutoff will be charged on those dates. It's a little confusing the way it's set up, but it has to be sitting at their warehouses for well over 6 months for it to be hit with the 6-month fee, if that makes any sense. But that was going to happen in those cases, so I just had to dispose because those products were just dead.
You don't sell anything on third-party sites?
I could have, but again, that was just me like being lazy, moving forward, keep doing new things. Like, I'm focused on what's working. So I mean, it was like a small loss, but I've lost a couple $1,000s a handful of times, you know, just on various things like that. So I mean, it's just part of the game for me. Yeah, it's like, could I have ordered those out to me and tried to sell them on Craigslist or eBay? Like, yeah, but like, I just know that I just know, knowing me, they'd be still sitting in the garage without me touching it right now. So,
I had to spend like $300.
yeah. So to me, it's like a luxury. It's like, wow, I could just lose $1,000 and never have to worry about this again. It's a good trade-off. Yeah.
So going back to product research, and you were touching upon this a little bit earlier. You said in 2016 you kind of did as much as 30 products. And obviously there's a lot of tools like Jungle Scout that have been able to make things easier for us. So I've kind of dabbled in Jungle Scout too. I just kind of got it this past week, so I'm loving the platform. It's awesome. Are there, like, for terms of like looking for new products to get into, has there ever been a point where you looked at products that you knew were saturated but that had high sales?
That's actually a super good question. So, and this is actually a really interesting answer in my opinion. So my second product line is the one that is my big seller today. That's the one that I talked about that could be a brand that scales into massive potential. That one required more investment, but I used the profits from my first product line, which is the one that got oversaturated as Amazon popped, and that was exactly what you're talking about. It was a product that was more investment, but it's a big market. I mean, like really big. Like there are multiple 9-figure brands in this market. There were already sellers with 1,000+ reviews. But I just thought, look, it was kind of like what I was saying is there's less competition for those higher investment things. So it was competitive in the regard that there were established listings, but there's more competition for the little item that costs $1 to source. So there was actually not that much competition in a way, even though it was a big market with established listings. So I mean, I did that. I would say I did exactly what you're saying, and that's the one that is my core now. So I like that way of thinking about it. It's just that it might require more investment and more risk too, because it's like more investment and what if it doesn't work out? Like I think people that come into my niche right now, I see a lot of them get crushed. Like at first I was like, oh no, a new competitor. Now I don't even look at the new competitors. I mean, I just know that it's probably a little too late for that niche. But I think there's a lot of opportunities like that.
Did you say 9 figures in a year, or?
No, I'm just saying that there are brands in my space that are valued at 9 figures. Like they've exited for 9 figures. So like, some multiple on their revenue or profit. But yeah, there's been exits of brands in my space. And obviously, I'm not saying that my brand is anywhere near a 9-figure brand. I'm just saying that, like, if I did all those things I talked about, like, and I played with those guys, it has that capacity. Like, it's that big of a market. So, yeah.
And without kind of giving away your product, the details, when you went into this, was it based on like obviously the higher price point, but it was also like weight and size too? That was also competitive for you?
Yeah, you have really good questions. So that product also, I shipped only by sea from day one. And that's one of the things that a lot of people will be scared of and sort of, but again, like the more obstacles, the more opportunities, because most people won't jump through all those hoops. So that was a product that's not huge, but it would have made no sense to do by air basically. I'll occasionally ship in like a small quantity by air just to stay in stock. And it costs like $5 a unit by air, but it's like, $1 or less by sea. So like that's a lot of profit margin when you factor all that in, like $4 or $5 a unit difference. So that's exact. When I got into that higher price point product, I went by sea immediately. I think I shipped over like maybe 100 or 200 units by air, which is I still do that now when I'm launching a new product because I just want to get it started sooner. So I'll take a loss up front just because now I can sort of risk losing a little bit more because I have this portfolio. So like I'll always sort of like take that loss, even if it's like I have a product that's like 9 pounds and it costs like $12 or $15 to ship it by air or something, but I still airship a few of them just so I could at least get it rolling, get the photos done, get maybe a couple of reviews from PPC, just test it. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
At what point did you decide to build a brand? Like, did you start out just doing random products?
That's an interesting question that I haven't really thought about when I started thinking about that. I feel like I sort of had the idea pretty much from the beginning, but like to a lesser extent than I'm thinking about it now for sure. Like I said, that second brand was really the one that I was like, dude, this could be a big brand. The first brand is like a product line, but it has a cap. Like I don't think that business could do, like even if I really maxed out the potential and did all those sort of like next level things, that brand on its own would probably cap out at like a couple million in revenue as like the whole market. But when I got into the second one, I was like, this is a real brand. And it came down to the product too. Like certain products are just more like brandable, if that makes sense. Like that second brand is something that like my customers get a lot more excited about this product. And that was what allowed me to get a lot of reviews. Is like everyone talked about this product. Like everyone was super pumped about this product. Like when I first started doing it, it was like I had never experienced that with the first ones. It was like just the response of people being pumped about it. And that sort of helps you build brand too, because it's like then you have this like community of people that are pumped about your product, and they're like asking you like, when are you gonna do one that's like this? When are you gonna do one like it's like they're like feeding you what to do. So then the brand just sort of becomes a thing. And but yeah, I mean I was definitely thinking about that from the beginning, but like for example, I didn't have a product outside of my first brand until that second brand, if that makes sense. Like so for example, I had my second, third, fourth product in the first brand before I launched.
The second product was related to your first product?
Yes, my first like 4 or 5 products were in that first brand. Then I went and launched the more investment brand that I was just talking about. That was brand 2. So I didn't do any random products in between. It was from brand 1 to brand 2 to brand 3, and now 4. But those 2 are really the ones that are like more of a brand. But yeah.
Go at the products. How many products would you test like in a day or in a week, would you say?
Like for actual products that I'm importing?
Yeah.
So I would really recommend only doing like 1 or 2 products as you get in, because it kind of goes back to what I was saying about having enough inventory to actually test the waters. Because if you only have a few units, it depends what your level of investment is, but if you don't have at least a few hundred units to test, it's going to be hard. So in that case, it makes it hard to do more than a couple at a time, in my opinion. And you want to be able to devote the time to focus on really getting that rolling, make sure everything is optimized and good, and you're paying attention to how the ads are converting and what people are saying about it. So I've never really done more than a couple at a time personally. But I mean, I think there's a lot of angles, and if you're thinking about it in a different way, maybe you have a specific product that makes sense to have a lot of different ones. I think there's opportunities in just about everything, especially when it's something that's not what everyone's doing. So it can work. If it's like a product that just has a ton of different styles, and you could import like 20 different styles right off the bat, that might work. But then it might be harder to sort of leverage like the whole Amazon game of getting reviews on one particular listing, right? So it's sort of a trade-off of that. So my typical answer would be, like pretty much focus on 1 to 2 products at a time, I would say. Yeah. We good? Awesome.
Cool.
All right.
Do you see any trends coming? Like, how the review platform popped up while you were in the transition of shipping product? Can you forecast as we're entering into this new marketplace for us? What do you see? Do you see anything like emerging, for the next year?
Yeah. So what I think is really interesting is that since that change, like the whole marketplace has sort of like calmed down a little bit. And that leads to a lot of people to thinking it's like too late or whatever, but it's because it's too late to just do the easy way. But that means the next level is doing the harder things. Getting a social media following around your brand, remarketing to the same customers, using influencers, using Facebook ads, using external traffic, doing like a referral program. Like everyone goes into like affiliate marketing, stuff like that. And then it's like, well, what if you had like an affiliate program for your product? Like or like drop shipping. Everyone's interested in drop shipping. Well, what if you had people drop shipping your product? Like all this like other sort of angles to add on top of like the Amazon machine. I think that's where it's going, because the sort of like quick little hack has been closed a bit, which leads a lot of people to leave the game, which means there's as much opportunity now as a year ago. Like it hasn't gotten more saturated. If anything, it's gotten just equally or maybe even less, you could argue, because a lot of people think it's dead. A lot of people think like, oh, it's too hard now. But like, so that next level is going to be doing those things that are a little more, and I'm not even saying you need those things. Like I said, I've still launched products that they just happen, right? Product choice just happens for some products. But the more you can sort of layer on those external things, like that's definitely going to be like the next wave of Amazon, because you're building an e-commerce like legacy that just has Amazon as a sales channel, and you're driving sales there, which helps you rank on Amazon, which is going to help you get sales, but then you're building this whole like platform at the same time.
Last question.
Yeah.
What's your #1 tip for someone either just getting started or they're still on like their first few products?
#1 tip. You know, the number one tip questions are really hard. Like I don't know, like one tip.
On like a broader scale.
Yeah, I mean,
0 to 6 figures in any business.
I mean, I think a lot of it still is, it's product selection, you know, and some products they just take off with nothing and some they don't. So, you know, anything you can do to continue researching and being confident in your product choice, that much better. You know, like you want to be pumped about your product choice, you know, like you don't want to be thinking like, like I don't know about this. Like, so keep looking until you're pumped about one or two of your choices, right? But then at some point, you know, stop with the analyzing, you just have to try it. So, you know, I think a lot of people get stuck there. So do that product research as best you can, but then you just got to jump in at one point. I guess that's one tip.
Is it after that, like, a lot of times you'll probably feel, and I'm just, you know, I'm just reiterating what I'm thinking right now from our experiences. You'll probably feel like you don't know what the hell you're doing, or like, you know, you're not like this company like Walmart that can import all this stuff from China, and you might be concerned like, oh, I don't know what the supplier is doing. Like, the fact that we were able to actually get a product shipped here and get on Amazon, it felt very overwhelming. But in hindsight, like I think back, like, you know, it was a whole learning experience the whole time through, and you do feel a lot of uncertainty throughout the whole process, you know. So just try not to stress about it. Like, we live in the information age basically, where you just Google, like, I mean, half the time I spent wasn't on product research or anything. It was the figuring out on Google the whole process of it. So.
Watching YouTube videos and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Watching YouTube videos.
Subscribe.
No, that's really a good tip. That's a tremendous tip, I think, is like people get stuck in every detail before they get there. And just, you gotta just work through the problems as they arise, you know? Like, don't worry about like what to do if your product gets suspended if you haven't even chosen products. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, on some level you need to be a little worried about, you know, are you picking a product that is like a liability or something like that? So, but like factor that in, but you don't need to figure out every potential situation that could ever happen, and just deal with the problems as they arise.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like I didn't know, like sea shipping scared me for so long. Like I didn't know what I was just like, how am I ever gonna figure this out? I was like, but then like, you know, once you do it, it's easy. Like everything. Yeah. Once you do anything, it's easy. So, you know, don't sweat about something like sea shipping, because like you said, information error, like you can figure it out. And like honestly, the biggest tip is, I said this in one of the videos, is like sea shipping, like you're not the one like driving the boat, like you're not doing it. Like you just freaking send an email to a freight forwarder and you're like, hey, can you do this? And they're like, yeah, that's what we do. You know, it's like, so yeah, you know, don't get caught up in that stuff, because it's not that hard once you figure it out. And like, yeah, you know, you use a freight forwarder to do that, or like accounting, you know, hopefully you'll get to scale while you have an accountant, that, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. Cool.
Yes.